wants to do a high volume well, they're going to have to get clearance from the Sierra Valley Groundwater Management District. This is the only place in the county that that could happen, but it's certainly a possibility, and I didn't want any of the ranchers who know me to let me forget that that's an important factor for Sierra Valley. And they're seriously trying to address those issues at this time. So let's go back to PowerPoint, and I'll be wrapping it up shortly.
You mentioned Delaware just in one word, but you didn't go any further with it. What were you about to say about that, and then you went over to Sierra Valley?
Okay, well, we can go back. I have no problem. Just let me make sure I can close out everything. So let's go to Delaware. This thing still wants to dominate. Okay, so we get into the Delaware. This is Vinton, and you don't see any high density residential. And then we'll go over to Delaware, which is here, and I'll zoom in. So Delaware is a new town in the general plan, so it has some sort of identity. I think the long-term idea is putting these places and giving these identities will help them over time, many, many years, kind of define themselves better. So Delaware has a mix of 7R, which is residential, and it has commercial and industrial. Most of the area in this part of the county does not have the blue or residential zoning on it. So at this point, how many people in this room know the zoning on their property? 20%? 30? So this ordinance is based on zoning. So if I had access to the county website, I could actually take you to the county code. You could look at the county map and see, okay, there I am, and go to the county code and read what your zoning allows in that area. We've been running less than 50%. I have to tell you that I talked to a professional early last week when I was out of town, and she was absolutely amazed that it was over 10%. So I want to applaud those that really do know their zoning. Well, again, a couple of ways to find it through the county website. You can also give Becky and I a call at the county building or send us an email and we'll provide it. This is kind of something we uncovered in the first meeting, and we really want to make sure people have access to find out what that means. So this is Delaware, and notice the white. We don't have anything for the city of Portola because that's their jurisdiction. And our ordinance, except for around these dotted lines, and I'm not sure they're real clear, would not impact the city. In those areas, we need to coordinate with the city, and that's the way we updated the general plan. The city of Portola wanted more coordination with the county, and we said yes, and so we created policies that help that happen. So on the way of wrapping up my presentation, objectives of the ordinance: effectively address neighborhood compatibility issues with cultivation and cannabis-related activities. That is a central theme in zoning. That is a central theme in this ordinance. If it doesn't do that, you should provide input to these folks or through this process, which I've indicated has many, many public input points. Set standards as allowed under state law for personal recreational cannabis cultivation. So I want to spend a little time on that. Under Prop 64, anybody over 21 is legal to partake in cannabis products in one way or another in the state of California. Also in that proposition, every residence, meaning if you have a house, and if you have 2 adults, it doesn't matter, or 5 adults, is allowed by law to have 6 cannabis plants. The only thing a local jurisdiction can really do is move those cannabis plants indoors. But that's problematic because then the potential of degradation of the indoor environments there could have children. This group has tried to balance that with outdoor cultivation, and in those blue areas, throughout the county, that could be a real issue because there's small lots, a lot of old townside lots. People are packed together. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 neighbors probably adjacent to me if I don't count the streets. In the later stages of the cannabis plant's development, when it's producing flowers, it does produce an odor. So what they're trying to do right now, as it stands, is they've tried to strike a balance to those small lots, creating, I think, a 7-foot fence, and this information is in the back, limiting plants, outdoor number of plants to 3, am I correct? If you're under 1/3 of an acre, having a locked enclosure, so a fence 7 foot high, locked, so that potentially deal with the nuisance issues that I know the Sheriff's Department gets calls on because somebody's either trying to crawl over a fence and steal the plant, or it's making so much odor people can't enjoy the outdoors. But that's what the state law says. We could force it all in. But I want you to really look at that if you're in one of those blue zones, and I recognize there's a lot of people from the city of Portola here, his input on what that means. There are 2 factors. There's the personal recreational, and then there's the commercial. This ordinance also is really dealing with both, but mostly it deals with commercial cannabis operations, growing, dispensing, manufacturing, and such. So this ordinance is to set standards for commercial cultivation, including dispensaries and everything, all the activities of cannabis. It's to provide a pathway to legal cultivation on private lands if they've been illegal, and of course we know there's cultivation in this county, and align the local rules with state regulations, providing a pathway from local permitting to state permitting. The kind of bugaboo there is every time the state changes the legislation, then they have to go through their arduous rulemaking process. And I think last week they kind of said, we're just going to do emergency rules, and we're going to go active on January 2. And the local jurisdictions were going, what if we don't have an ordinance in place? Some reports. The ordinance is trying to set standards for personal recreational cannabis cultivation. The development of local cannabis permitting processes and standards by setting standards for commercial cultivation, including setbacks, security, fencing, inspections. They have to meet the fire safe standards. I know somebody said that what we have in the ordinance doesn't apply. Well, we've got standards, and all fire safe stuff has to apply. There is an overview of the different zoning districts. It's important that you know that when you look at that big matrix, colored matrix. It is tied to the county GIS colors. So if you've got it, you get on the county GIS and you go to those maps and you open up the zoning and you type in your address or your AP number and you go, it takes you to your parcel. It'll give you your zoning and the color of that, and you can cross-reference it on the matrix. And with that, I'm pretty much done, and I think we're ready for public comments.
All right, thank you, Andy. So just a quick overview of public comment. As everybody knows, everybody has a lot of different views on this particular topic, and so I respectfully ask that everybody respect each other's views when people are giving their public comments so that we can accurately get those comments written down. We'll be able to hear writing those comments down, plus we'll also be recording, and Kim right here will be writing some stuff down as well as Cindy and everybody. So it'll be 3 minutes per speaker. If you want to go over 3 minutes and you've got somebody that doesn't want to speak and would like you to continue your comments, I will allow one extension of 3 minutes, and that person will give that person their time. I just want to make it a very smooth meeting. I want to hear everybody's comments. Again, like Randy said, if you walk out the door tonight and you've said some comments and you get home and you think about some other comments that you wanted to say or whatever, feel free to call the planning department or your local supervisor, give them written comments or send them an email of any kind like that, because we definitely want to hear from everybody, even if you didn't get a chance, or you didn't think of a comment that you wanted to say, or something of that nature, or you didn't have enough time to say your comment. Please feel free to do that. Again, it'll be 3 minutes. I want to extend to all persons of District 1 the opportunity to come up first. And so if you're from District 1, I'm going to have you guys come up first and give your public comment. And then after we're done with all the District 1 folks here in Portola, Sierra Valley, then there'll be some other, I believe I see some other folks from different parts of the county. Then I will allow you guys to have your public comment as well. So with that, I will, man, don't you, sometimes I just wonder why you do that, but anyway, it is a little hot and humid in here, sorry about that, without the air conditioner going, it's a struggle. So anyhow, with that, I'll take our first public comment from District 1.
Go ahead.
Just, I forgot to mention there's this platform here, and then, as you come up for your public comment, please address the board and our staff. Thank you.
Okay, it's pretty simple. I'm totally against dope suckers. I'm totally against people who grow dope. I don't want it in my neighborhood. Not in my backyard. Now, if you folks on the Board of Supervisors seem to think there's some kind of a gold mine, I can guarantee you it ain't. We got problems in Plumas County, we got problems in Portola, and we don't need more. We don't need more problems. What we need is solutions. Now, I'm totally against it. I don't want it. I live out in Backworth. I live at north end of Sierra Valley. And I don't need dope to make me feel good. All I need to do is look out my window and say, God sure did one hell of a nice job. Lord, thank you for giving me the eyes to see it. Other than that, I will say a couple of things. You start out with marijuana, then you're going to have opioid epidemics. You think I'm bullshitting? I got a $100 bill, and hopefully I'll live long enough to collect. All you got is a gateway. It ain't gonna work, folks. And I don't want it in my neighborhood. I don't want dope suckers, and I don't want dope in my neighborhood.
You? Okay, anybody else? Yeah, go ahead, sir.
My name is Jim Roberti, and I am a grower. I'm a grower of alfalfa. I'm not a grower, I just rightfully put it, it amounts to dope. We're working on our 5th generation. He was going to be here tonight, but with the heat and everything, they got a 2-year-old grandson. We're working on our 5th generation on a ranch out in the middle of Sierra Valley. We've got many other farmers and ranchers that they're working on their 2nd and 3rd generation that are being here, and even longer than that. And I got a question, I guess, I don't know who can answer it, but we know over here on Madalena Road right now, they're setting up hoop houses and they're bringing in marijuana plants. And I can't understand how that's being allowed to happen. Can anybody answer that question?
Well, there is an issue with 215. I think it runs for another year, Prop 215. I'm not going to say it's being condoned by the county, but there is, if they have the medical scripts, and that has tied up enforcement agencies in the past. So I believe they have the medical scripts to do what they're doing. Meaning they have enough, put together enough doctors' scripts under the medical cannabis regulations that they grow collectible for their patients.
So earlier you had mentioned about it being they had to get a license, et cetera, from the county and then from the state, so this doesn't apply to there?
Well, I do know who it is, and they have talked to me, and they're more than willing to get a license. My problem with them is they jumped again. So they're not adverse to paying taxes, they're not adverse to getting the licenses from the state and from the locals, but they did jump the gun. They jumped the gun because they have those medical scripts that make enforcement more difficult, and I'll be having more discussions with them next week. Okay, so they're not out of the woods with me, and I know they're not out of the woods with the Sheriff's Department.
Yes, and state license, yeah, obviously aren't available yet, so, yeah. Go ahead, continue.
Well, there's most of you have heard of Feather River Land Trust. And a year or two ago, they put in a letter to, it was a national program, it's an agricultural program called NRCS. And they put in a letter of, for Sierra Valley about the possibility of getting money to fund the Feather River Land Trust, some of the grant needs out there. And, so it went throughout the whole United States. And so the whole United States competed for this money. Well, Sierra Valley came back as the #1 place that they wanted to protect. And they got the grant to come to Sierra Valley and do different things. So out of the entire United States, Sierra Valley was singled out to be awarded this money or this grant. And it seems like, so why are we even discussing the possibility of putting, I call it dope too, just like he does, putting dope in Sierra Valley. So I was telling my wife on the way over, what a nice little thing for the travelers and people that come through the valley now. And little Johnny's sitting there in the seat, and he says, "Oh, Mommy, look what there, or one of those hoop houses out there, you know, how nice, you know." And she gets to say, "Oh, little Johnny, this is a marijuana grow area now." Actually, the guy that has got the hoop houses set up out here mentioned to somebody else that they're looking at being the biggest one in the state of California soon, or eventually. And it's like, I don't want it here. I don't want my families to have to deal with it, and you guys shouldn't either, because it's going to end up costing far more of a penalty than what it's ever going to gain for the revenues. I talked to a man down out of Butte County, one of the supervisors down there today. He said it was anywhere from 90-95% of the calls when they had their real severe problem to the Sheriff's Department was dealing with cannabis stuff. Can I get a...
Yes, go ahead. Keep going. Yes.
My wife usually tells me to shut up. This time she's going to say. So, talking to him, they let the cat out of the bag 2 or 3, 4 years ago, I don't know when it was. And they've been trying to put the cat back in the bag ever since, and it's been a nightmare. So instead of listening to the coyotes howl at night when the sun goes down, they were listening to gunfire. Because then the dope dealers were out there at their cannabis grow areas, scaring away the animals and telling the people, "Hey, we're here to protect our stuff." I'd rather hear the coyotes than I'd rather hear the guns going off. I don't understand at all how there's any issue here. The negatives far outweigh. If you sit down and put it down on a piece of paper, I did it. I just can't see why this is even being discussed. And so I am like the man before me. I'm totally against the cannabis movement. And I don't understand, after listening to Randy, and Randy, you did a great job on that. But I don't understand, with all the things that are up in the air, thing after thing after thing, and Randy said, well, this is how it is right now, but it could change. It could change this, it could change that. How in the world don't you just stop it and start it when you've got it ready to go? When you know what the state of California is going to do. Pass the ordinance, you've got the ability to do it, to say, no, we're not going to grow it here right now. So I say, do that. And then you start when you know what the heck is going on. But how do you make a decision when you don't have all the information if they're changing on you every day? So thank you for your time.
All right, next. platform in front of me.
Thanks for coming out. Appreciate you guys holding this. I completely see both sides of the whole situation. You know, I don't want to stand up here and talk about the pros, all that Google or somebody else talked to you about tax revenue. I think if I were to comment on something that maybe be different, would be values. I think I've been exposed to this industry a lot. I majored in agriculture, UC Davis. I studied this sort of thing a lot. And basically, I disagree. I think the pros outweigh the cons. We've seen and I've studied in Salinas, Monterey, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, which are all major ag towns just like this area. It's been incredible for sort of building the community, creating tax revenue. These are small farm towns. And as far as values go, these type of people, they're still just farmers. They're still just good old folks. And they're not criminals. And, you know, to just call them dope puffers or whatever the dope suckers thing is, you know, it's kind of discriminatory. And, you know, what it would do to real estate value around here as well is pretty important to comment on. It would definitely increase real estate values, especially in the, you know, sort of more rural areas where Randy was talking about them doing some sort of commercial operation, you know, not in the residential areas where, you know, you got less than a third of an acre or whatever it is. I can see how that would create an issue, but out in the commercial and more spread out areas, I mean, you're not, you know, you've got plenty of room, and I just think that, you know, it would create a lot of good tax revenue, and I just don't see it bringing any negative riffraff if it was sort of regulated and in the public eye. So that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. All right, anybody else from District 1?
It's a difficult thing to, as a community or a body of people, to come together and try to dictate what a person can do on his personal and private property. But when that does start affecting the neighbors and the community, then I do feel that that body of people do have things to say and have the right to try to get some kind of regulation or enforcement, whatever the case might be, in application. Personally, again, I haven't been touched by what might be going on this Matadina property, but what residual effect in that community I have been affected and have seen. If you're familiar with Catalina Road, it is a one-way in and out road, narrow, no center line, et cetera, we have seen a 2 or 3-fold increase in traffic on that road going in the general direction of